Hello and welcome. I'm Geeta Mohan and you're watching World Today. The top focus today, India's mission to crush Pakistan-based terror. Here are the top developments. India early Wednesday carried out Operation Sindoor. In a precise and measured strike, Indian forces hit 9 terror sites in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. As per government sources, over 80 suspected terrorists were killed in the operation. Among the targets were 2 prime terror hubs. The mosque Masjid Tayyabba that served as a headquarters for Lashkar, it was destroyed. Jaish-e-Mohammad headquarters in Bahawalpur was also hit. Jaish chief Masood Azhar issued a statement confirming many members of his family were killed. After the strikes, Pakistan retaliated with ceasefire violations using heavy artillery along the line of control, hitting Poonch and Tangdar, resulting in 15 civilian deaths. India hit back, inflicting casualties on the other side as well. Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif addressed the nation and the National Assembly. He confirmed 26 deaths in Indian attack. Sharif said his government has authorized the army to decide on the response. Breaking news coming in. Pakistan now scrambles after India crushes Pakistani terror hubs. Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has vowed to retaliate after Indian strike. Shehbaz Sharif at the National Assembly in an address to the nation said Pakistan won't take a step back. Well, that's the big news coming in. Pakistan Prime Minister has vowed to take revenge on the Indian action in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and the Punjab of Pakistan. He says that India will have to pay a heavy price for the bloodshed that Pakistan witnessed early in the wee hours of this morning. It is very clear that Pakistan is planning an action against India, whether it's going to be a military action or Pakistan will go back to its good old non-conventional, unconventional warfare is something we'll have to wait and see. But for now, Pakistan Prime Minister vows to retaliate after the Indian strike that took down 9 targets, which include mostly terror hubs of Jaish-e-Mohammad, Hizbul Mujahideen and Hafiz Saeed's Lashkar-e-Taiba.
गुज़श्ता रात भारत ने जारियत करके जो फाश गलती की उसका खमियाजा अब उसे ज़रूर भुगतना होगा। शायद वो समझ बैठे थे कि हम पीछे हट जाएंगे, लेकिन वो ये बात भूल गए कि ये अल्लाह ताला के फज़ल व करम से बहादुरों की कौम है जो अपने अज़्म में फुलादी है, जिसके सपूतों ने ख़ुद को मैदान जंग से निखारा है, जो अपने वतन की इज़्ज़त और हिफाजत के लिए खून के आखिरी कतरे तक लड़ने के लिए तैयार है।
Well, Pakistan has promised to avenge the death of those who were killed in the Indian retaliation. But Pakistan is scrambling. There is a turning point that we've seen after the Pahalgam terror attack. India's retaliation when it comes to Pakistan, in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and in the Punjab has been very, very precise. Terror hubs, terror networks taken down. Hafiz Saeed and Masood Azhar were dealt a huge blow. Masood Azhar's family members killed, and now Pakistan is scrambling, not knowing where to go and what to do. It has said that it is going to respond and retaliate. What does that mean for Pakistan, and how is India going to take it? whether if Pakistan really has the wherewithal and the means to sustain a war or a conflict with India is the big question.
9 targets: Bahawalpur, Muridke, Sarjal, Sialkot, Bhimber, Kotli and Muzaffarabad were all successfully hit in a combined operation of the Indian forces. 4 of them, Bahawalpur, Muridke, Sialkot and Sarjal, are in Pakistan's Punjab, and 5 in POK. Pakistan claimed 8 were killed and 33 were injured.
टोटल 6 जगह पे पाकिस्तान में 24 इम्पैक्ट्स हुए हैं भारत की तरफ से. ये जो इम्पैक्ट्स हैं मुख्तलिफ तरीक़ों से मुख्तलिफ वेपन्स को इस्तेमाल करते हुए किए गए हैं 6 मकामात पर.
which must come to
Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif tweeted saying India has struck in 5 locations and that Pakistan has every right to give robust response to act of war from India. One by one, nearly 2 hours after the Operation Sindoor strike, Deputy Prime Minister of Pakistan Masood Azhar and Information Minister Ataullah Tarar also posted on social media vowing revenge. Following the deadly Indian strike, there was a blackout in POK capital Muzaffarabad.
यहाँ मुजफ्फराबाद में हम सोए हुए थे, हमें आवाज़ें वगैरह आई हैं यहाँ पर कि इंडिया ने शायद इस इलाके को टारगेट करने की कोशिश की है, गोलाबारी वगैरह की है.
Emergency has been declared in hospitals in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. All flights to Islamabad and Lahore airports have been cancelled, while both Lahore and Sialkot airports have been closed for the next 48 hours. Continuing with heavy shelling across the line of control, Pakistan scrambles to put together its response to India's Operation Sindoor. Bureau Report, India Today.
Now, India has briefed its allies and partner countries on the measures and targeted strikes on Pakistan-based terror hubs through Operation Sindoor. There was a unanimous support condemning the Pahalgam terror attack. This time, most nations urged de-escalation, while China expressed regret. Iranian Foreign Minister Saeed is going to be in New Delhi. This is going to be his first major visit in the aftermath of Operation Sindoor. He will be meeting External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar and President Draupadi Murmu tomorrow. This visit was pre-scheduled and comes right after Arakchi's visit to Pakistan earlier this week. Iran offered to mediate between India and Pakistan earlier, but in the aftermath of Operation Sindoor, equations might have changed, as India prepares to brief UNSC members through its UN mission in New York, as well as it did here in the Ministry of External Affairs today, meeting with the foreign envoys of UNSC and member countries.
The world cautioned both India and Pakistan, hoping for restraint in response to Operation Sindoor, carried out by India targeting 9 terror locations in Pakistan.
We are continuing to follow closely the recent developments, and we reiterate our strong condemnation of the terrorist attack in Pahalgam and the terrible loss of life it caused. We condemn terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. Those responsible must be brought to justice. The High Representative stressed this in her recent conversations with both Indian and Pakistani counterparts. We do urge both sides to show restraint and take immediate steps towards de-escalation. The EU recalls the need for a negotiated, mutually agreed and lasting peaceful solution to the conflict.
Neighbor to both India and Pakistan, China termed the operation regrettable and offered to mediate.
China finds India's military operations early this morning regrettable. We are concerned about the ongoing situation. We urge India and Pakistan to act in the larger interest of peace and stability, remain calm, exercise restraint, and refrain from taking actions that may further complicate the situation. We are willing to work together with the international community to play a constructive role in easing the current situation.
The other Asian giant, Japan, was deeply concerned by any further escalation in tensions between India and Pakistan.
We are deeply concerned that this incident could incite retaliation and escalate to a full-scale military conflict. To ensure peace in South Asia, we strongly call for both India and Pakistan to exercise restraint and stabilize the situation through dialogue.
Just about a month ago, America extradited Mumbai terror attack conspirator Tahawur Rana to India. It was a big boost to India's fight against terror. But on 7th May, as soon as the US president heard about Operation Sindoor, his first reactions weren't as comforting.
No, it's a shame. We just heard about it just as we were walking in the doors of the Oval. Just heard about it. I guess people knew something was going to happen based on a little bit of the past. They've been fighting for a long time. You know, they've been fighting for many, many decades and centuries, actually, if you really think about it. No, I just hope it ends very quickly.
Russia, UK, France too expressed their concerns as tensions escalate along the LOC.
India is our strategic partner. Pakistan is also our partner in many matters. We value our relations with both New Delhi and Islamabad. Of course, we hope that both sides will be able to undertake moves and agree over these moves, which will help to lower the degree of tension on the border.
Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar also spoke with his counterparts across the world, briefing them on Operation Sindoor. He spoke about India's firm resolve to counter cross-border terrorism. Meanwhile, Indian Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri has briefed 13 foreign envoys in Delhi about targeting 9 terror locations spread across POK and Punjab province of Pakistan. During the briefing, 4 points were raised: the current military escalation by Pakistan across LOC and international border, Pakistan shielding TRF, the proxy LET organization, India's response targeted, measured and non-escalatory, and finally how Pahalgam terror attack was a barbaric killing of innocent people. India also made it clear that if Pakistan responds, India will revert. Next, the Indian mission in UN will reach out to UNSC members and brief them on Operation Sindoor. With Mahashweta Lala, Bureau Report, India Today.
And joining me is Derek Grossman, National Security and Indo-Pacific Analyst at RAND Corporation. Thank you so much, Derek, for joining me here on the network. Your first take on what you've seen when it comes to India's action and the world seeking de-escalation when it comes to India, Pakistan, and the increase in tensions between the two countries.
Well, thanks for having me. So of course we've seen the events of the last 24 hours, and it is worrisome, I think, to the international community to see India and Pakistan ramping up in this fashion. Although, of course, the attacks on April 22nd, resulted from Pakistan, resulted in India's retaliation that we're seeing now. But in terms of de-escalation, I think the Trump administration, as well as other governments worldwide, have tried to get both sides to de-escalate through negotiations. And I think that process, we're going to see that process continue as it should. And so I'm hopeful that we can get to a more peaceful situation in the coming days and weeks.
Right, but the message from India is very clear, Derek, that the ball is in Pakistan's court, that if Pakistan wants de-escalation, they will have to handle the terror infrastructure rather than sending terrorists across the border.
Yeah, and I think India's position is certainly warranted in terms of trying to urge Pakistan to dismantle the terrorist infrastructure, as you say, but I would respectfully argue that escalating to de-escalate typically has not worked in international relations, and what India has done through Operation Sindoor cannot be viewed in any other way other than escalation, right? And so Pakistan has vowed to retaliate, and my concern is that there's going to be this spiraling tit for tat in which, neither side is really going to have any kind of benefit or advantage in the long run. And it's only going to cause more turmoil for each of those countries, for the peoples within them.
Right. Right. Derek, a lot of countries have reacted differently, but some have come out seeking mediation, offering mediation, Iran in particular. What do you have to say about mediation and the offer to mediate between India and Pakistan?
So, yeah, I mean, there are other countries who can certainly facilitate in mediation roles. I mean, I think the United States is one, but also Russia could be another. We've seen Iran step up to the plate very interestingly, and they may have some success given their relatively positive relations with both India and Pakistan. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot at stake, of course, for India and Pakistan, but also really for the region and for the international community. So I expect that those processes to continue to play out.
Well, the Pakistani Prime Minister has come out and said that he's going to retaliate. What would you think, and what would the meaning of such a retaliation be in terms of the cost for not just India, Pakistan, but also the region?
Yeah, I mean, of course, India and Pakistan are both nuclear armed, right? So in the worst case scenario, you have nuclear war, but I think we're very far from that. And I still think it's a low chance that it happens. But I mean, yeah, for the entire region, if this is a protracted struggle between India and Pakistan, you're going to see, I think, countries have to kind of like pick sides, if you will. And of course, we have Bangladesh since April 5th, August 5th, with its transition in government, has a much warmer relationship these days with Pakistan, perhaps than it does with India. We have countries like the Maldives and Sri Lanka that have fairly good relations with India, as well as Nepal, right? Although when you add this Pakistan friction into the mix, it is going to cause others to wonder, should they completely side with India over Pakistan or play a more balanced or have a more balanced foreign policy in the future?
Right. Right. Derek, the international community has expressed concerns, but let's step back a little and see. For the first time since 1970, India has breached the Punjab and gone in to hit the terror networks and dismantle the terror infrastructure. That India has been pleading the international community to impress upon Pakistan to do exactly that. Bahawalpur, Muridke, Sialkot, Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. There's certainly 9 targets where India went in, but they were not military or civilian. They were terror hubs. And it shows from what has happened post that the lead at the funeral was taken by Lashkar-e-Taiba deputy commander. And that is none other than Abdul Rauf himself.
Yeah, so I mean, the targets that you're referring to, right, that we at least know of right now, so 5 within Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and 4 within Pakistan proper. What it sounds like is that these are targets that of concern to India because Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammad were operating out of them. Although the thing that I worry about, Geeta, and I think everyone should be worried about, to include India, is the prospects for civilian casualties, for collateral damage. And we're already seeing some of that play out in Pakistan. And the worry that I have is that that's going to embolden Islamabad to continue to retaliate against India. We're already seeing some of that along the line of control with Pakistani artillery shelling, and some Indian civilians, unfortunately, have perished as a result. And so these types of actions, while warranted, right, can also further inflame the situation. We kind of saw this and continue to see this with Israel's attacks in Gaza against Hamas targets that are ostensibly civilian, but Hamas is using them for military purposes. Well, there are civilian casualties even collateral damage as a result. So that, I think, has
Right.
emboldened the Hamas resistance there, as I think it will in Pakistan with Indian strikes.
Well, Derek, let's then just talk optics. Look at the coffins that came out of these terror hubs. They were coffins being carried by men in uniform. That clearly shows complicity between the military and the terrorists in Pakistan.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's true, and Pakistan has not launched its own investigation. They're talking about an independent investigation to get to the bottom of it. But I mean, the real problem in the India-Pakistan relationship is a lack of bilateral trust, right? So the Indians, I think rightfully so, do not trust Pakistan to conduct this type of investigation. Because India thinks that these are proxies of the Pakistani state, right? And so I think that that's going to be that has been and will continue to be highly problematic in the relationship. And I think that India, frankly, has had enough and is taking it upon itself to root out that terrorist infrastructure to protect India, because Pakistan has proven over time that it's not interested in protecting India from these terrorist groups.
Okay. Let's talk about Trump administration. Why such a vast difference in the reaction to what Israel does as opposed to what India does? Free hand to Israel, but constrained and expressing concern when it comes to India.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's hard to know whether the Trump administration can succeed in pressuring Pakistan to do more on terrorism. I strongly suspect the answer is no, given past behavior. But that doesn't mean that the United States under the current administration isn't going to try, right? Because I think it was interesting right after the Pahalgam terrorist attack on April 22nd, you saw a number of senior U.S. officials talk about how they supported India, right? Staunch support for India, and didn't really mention Pakistan, didn't talk about Pakistan. But in the last few days, especially just before Operation Sindoor, you saw the Trump administration soften its stance quite a bit and talk about the need for mediation and negotiations, right? And most recently, right after Operation Sindoor commenced, you saw our Secretary of State and Acting National Security Advisor, Marco Rubio, say precisely that, right? That now there needs to be negotiations, and there needs to be a de-escalation in the conflict. So that seems to be where the Trump administration is settled, and I expect that is probably going to be the case for a while, unless there's a serious, escalation from Pakistan that warrants India to retaliate. You may see the pendulum swing back to more staunchly supporting it.
Well, there are hectic parleys and engagements between India and foreign envoys during Pahalgam terror attack and even now. But when it comes to the United Nations Security Council, it does seem like Pakistan stood isolated. There were no takers for the Pak argument.
I think for the most part it is, but of course its iron brother, its all-weather partner is China, and China also happens to be a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council. I'm not privy to any behind-the-scenes information, but what it seems like to me from the outside is that China supported Pakistan's case at the United Nations, but the problem for Pakistan is that the U.S. and Russia, as much as they disagree on a lot of things, course, most notably Ukraine, right? US and Russia, one area of agreement is on supporting India in these types of situations. And so I think the US and Russia did not want to listen to Pakistan. And then the UK and France kind of followed suit on that, right? So, I mean, that essentially means that Pakistan does not have international support, first and foremost, among the great powers, the major powers in the international system. And so that's why I think their bid to get some sort of resolution at the UN failed.
Well, also, Derek, the fact that Pakistan also is reaching out to the international community, forget about isolation, they're also trying to convince the international community that they have a right to self-defense, a right to respond.
Yeah, I mean, that's That's Pakistan's argument. But I mean, at the same time, what started this whole situation, and it was the attack along the LOC on April 22nd. And so I think, when you look at responsibility, right? I mean, I think Pakistan bears the brunt of it. But I also have to say that, how India conducts itself in the coming days and weeks also matters, right? And so I think the position that the U.S. has taken, as well as other countries around the world, that there needs to be a de-escalation. I think India should follow that. But the question then becomes, can India sit back and let Pakistan do artillery shelling along the LOC? Of course not, right? So that's why I'm concerned that as much as try to get to de-escalation, there are things that are going to be holding us back, which is these operations across the dispute border.
Right, Derek Grossman, thank you so much for joining us here on World Today. India today is going to follow the story very closely. Pakistani Prime Minister has, in an address to the nation, has avowed that he is going to avenge the death of those who were killed in the Indian military action. But we'll over here be taking note, monitoring the situation and bringing you all the details on what's happening on the India-Pak front. On that note, it's goodbye from me.